Hi, welcome to the Yarn and Yarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Rainbow Ange. Welcome to day 12, the final day of my 12 cast-ons of Christmas Madness. Yeah, I've got mixed feelings about today. I'm looking forward to casting on the project that I will be working on today, but it's also quite sad to think that my cast-on frenzy is over. Although I'm sure throughout the year there will be more cast-ons, don't worry about that. And I've probably already got enough projects stacked up that I could have my 12 cast-ons for next year lined up already, but that's another story. I am looking forward to getting back and working on some of the lovely projects that I've cast on over the last week or so though, so that's something to look forward to. So final cast on for this project is something that I have talked about in other videos before, so you may already be familiar. It's a project from Pom Pom Quarterly magazine. This issue is number 22, which is from autumn 2017. And the project that I'm going to be casting on is the ElibeLinde jumper, which is a lovely textured jumper. I'm just trying to find the picture of it. This one sort of shows up best, although the photography on these pages, there's another one in brown, it's just really dark, but it's got this nice sort of texture all over the jumper. It's kind of a boxy jumper, and I shall be knitting it in this gorgeous yarn from indie dyer Mahudley. I picked up quite a few skeins of this from the dyer herself while I was at Yarnporium back in November. I had originally planned to perhaps make something like the pavement sweater, but then I was flicking through my issues of Pom Pom and I was really taken by the lovely texture, and I thought that would look lovely in this gorgeous shade of yarn. If you've watched my videos, you may know that I was planning on casting this on a little bit earlier, but this was the original gauge swatch that I did, and I didn't quite get gauge with the recommended needle size, so I cast on a new smaller swatch from the next needle size up, which is a 4.5. I soaked and blocked it. It is a superwash yarn, so I wanted to soak out the swatch before I started knitting with it, because I know that some superwash yarns have a tendency to stretch a little bit, but I got gauge more or less. I think I'm half a stitch or so out with a 4.5mm needle. So given that this is a boxy sort of style, I think you know, an inch or so here or there is not going to make a massive difference to the jumper. So yeah, I'm excited to finally get to cast on with this gorgeous yarn. I need to cast on quite a few stitches for my size, so there probably won't be significant progress on this, but I will be happy to have it on the needles, and of course I shall be back to you soon to show you exactly how much progress I was able to make. I'm back to show you the progress on my very final project of the 12 cast-ons of Christmas Adventure that I have been on. Yeah, it's kind of a bittersweet moment really. I am glad that I will be able to get back to work on some of these lovely projects that I've cast on, but I've also been enjoying chatting to you every day, and also challenging myself to see how far I can get with these projects on a daily basis. But all good things, as they say. Onto the project, which is the ElibeLinde jumper from issue 22 of Pom Pom, and I managed to make reasonable progress on this yesterday given the weight of the yarn and the number of stitches. It is knit at a very loose gauge though, so progress is quicker than otherwise might be. Let's try and get some of these ends out of the way. So yeah, here is what I managed to get done, which is not too bad, a good couple of inches on the needles there. So I forgot to mention in yesterday's intro segment that I was planning to use a contrast mini for the ribbing on this sweater. When I picked up this lovely yarn from Mahudley at Yarnporium, I also picked up on her stand, there were a couple of mini skeins in this lovely olivey green colour, which is called Calcifer. And I thought those two greens looked really nice together. So I just picked up a couple of minis, and I'm hoping that they will be enough to do contrast ribbing around obviously the bottom, the neck, and probably the cuffs on the sleeves as well. But at the very least I'm going to do the ribbing on the bottom and the neckband and see how much yarn I've got left. I used obviously the first mini. I've bought two 20-gram minis, and I've got that much left of the first mini. I haven't weighed it, but there's probably 5 or so grams there out of the 20 grams, and obviously the bottom band is going to be the biggest sort of circumference of knitting, so hopefully I should have enough to get everything that I want done in that yarn. I had a couple of missteps with the cast on. I'm knitting the largest size, so there's 300 and something odd stitches to cast on to start with. It's the first time I joined in the round. I thought I had it all done, and I knit up 3 or 4 rounds, which is probably about an hour's worth of knitting, and realised that I'd twisted the join, so that had to come undone. And then the second time I cast on, I was using a long tail cast on, and I ran out of yarn before I got to my cast on stitches. I didn't do the neat trick where you join the end and the middle of the ball together, which I should have done. Anyway, got there in the end and managed to get going. So yeah, I was a little bit annoyed at the start of the day because as I say, I'd knit a good inch or so and then had to rip that out. So I would have had another few rows on top of this if I hadn't have made that annoying mistake at the start. But I'm sure we've all been there. So I've managed to get the first half of one pattern repeat done on the texture pattern in the jumper. So not really that much to show yet, but I think you can start to see the lovely sort of textured nature of this pattern. I'm not 100% sold on the looseness of the gauge, but I think I'll knit, I mean there's not too much I can do about it. If I knit any smaller, then the jumper's probably not going to fit. So if I go down a needle size, it's probably just going to be too tight. So yeah, there's not too much I can do about that, and I think it will be a nice sort of light jumper to wear. So I'm going to finish the first pattern repeat and probably do the next pattern repeat and then reassess to see what I think. But I love the colour. I love this colour. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And I've been enjoying the knit. So, and it is quite nice. As I say, the looseness of the gauge means that even though it's a fingering weight 4-ply jumper, it's growing reasonably quickly. So that is another thing to say for this. I'm just not convinced that the pattern shows as nicely at this loose gauge, but I'm knitting at the gauge recommended in the pattern, although in the pattern it does seem that the fabric they've got is a little bit denser, but it's difficult to tell because the photography in this issue in particular is so dark. It's really dark. I think I showed you the so there's this sample done in brown and then a sample done in red, and it's just really difficult against that dark sort of tapestry background to really get a good idea for what the jumper looks like. The red one does look fairly loose in gauge. That's the one you can see a little bit better. So yeah, that is it for the ElibeLinde. I still have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right. I've popped in some stitch markers. I think the chart is about a 12 stitch chart, so, or is it 8 stitch chart. So I've basically popped in a marker every few repeats just to try and keep myself on track, because as you can imagine, it will be a long way to go back round if you get to the end of the row and realise that you're a stitch or two out. So at least if I've divided it into sort of 25-ish stitch chunks, maybe slightly more on some occasions. I haven't been too precise about it, but at least that way I can keep track as I go round the rows to make sure that I haven't made any mistakes anywhere. And so far so good, touch wood. I'm keeping that project in a lovely bag that I made. Again, this is one that the first project bags that I made. I don't think it's even got any interfacing, or if it has, it's very lightweight because it's very scrunchy. and the labels on the outside of the bag, but I picked up this fabric where I used to live. So yeah, I know this is definitely one of the first bags that I made. I may have even made it before we moved here. And usually I line my project bags with just a plain fabric because I find that it's easier to see what's in the bag, but this one's got a really nice, bright, fun, spotty lining. I'm knitting the ElibeLinde on 1 needle size up than recommended in the pattern, so I'm knitting it on a 4.5mm needle to get the required gauge, or at least the required stitch gauge, and I'm knitting on my Knit Pro Symphony needles, which are the multicolour wooden needles. So that's it, we've come to the end of the journey. All that really remains for me to say is a very big thank you to everyone who has been following along on this 12 cast-ons adventure with me. I know some of you out there have been kind enough to leave lovely comments under the videos to let me know that you've been enjoying them, and also that you have been inspired to cast on a few of your own projects. So for anyone who has been casting along with me, I don't think there's anyone out there who's gone quite as crazy as I have and cast on 12, but for anyone who may have cast on just 1 or 2 projects to keep me company, then I really appreciate that. It's been so much fun to read about everything that you're working on. Of course, if you're interested in the progress on these projects, then keep checking back on my videos. I shall be talking about them as and when I get back to working on them. My next video should be in a few I think for the next video we'll be back to the usual format, so the works in progress, finished objects, all the good stuff. And now I've finished casting on the projects, I am going to try and get into my goal routine of the year of working on some older projects for 1 week and then going back to working on whatever I like the second week, and just try and keep those in sort of rotation. So next week I am looking forward to concentrating on some of the projects that I've had on the needles for the longest. For anyone who's interested, my whip count is at 28 or 29, I can't remember. But when I get to do my next video, I shall do a proper count up and let you know for sure, because I know a few of you out there have been asking and are interested. And also I'll be having a giveaway on my next full video. I was going to have a 200 subscriber giveaway, but thanks to some very kind people who have been mentioning me on their channels, we've skipped right on up and we're fast approaching 300. So I might do a 250 subscriber giveaway and then perhaps go up in 250 increments after that. We'll see. In my next video, I'm also planning on having a giveaway, so look out for that. I was always intending to have a 200 subscriber giveaway, but thanks to a couple of lovely people who have mentioned me on their YouTube channels, we've skipped right up to that, and we are not far off approaching 300 subscribers now. So that's kind of exciting and really nerve-wracking for me. I think the more people that I know out there are listening, the more self-conscious I feel about doing this for some reason. So I don't know, you'll have to bear with me. Hopefully things won't change too much and nerves won't get the better of me. Anyway, I am signing off from this 12 cast-ons adventure, and I hope to see you here on my little corner of the internet soon. So until next time, please take care of yourselves. I hope you get to do lots of the things that you enjoy, and great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye.